Paticca Samuppada, Dependent Origination, talk number 10. Vedana Pichya Dhamma. Because of feeling as condition, there arises craving. Vedana Pichya Dhamma. In the last talk, we have discussed Vedana feeling quite extensively. So in this length we are going to start with Dhamma, craving. Dhamma is a Pali word. Craving is the accepted translated English word. Dhamma, craving. Literally, it means thirst for sense objects. Thirst for sense objects. That's what Dhamma means. That's what craving means. Let's say we drink water every day, many times, non-stop. We never get enough. We have to keep on drinking. We have to keep on drinking because we have thirst for water. Just like that, we never are satisfied with wanting or needing sense objects. We have a constant thirst, one after the other, for sense object. We have constant craving, one after the other, for sense objects. Craving, Dhamma. There are quite a few other Pali words that are used synonymously with Dhamma. One word is called lobha, in English translated as greed. It's the one of the three mental defilements: lobha, dosa, moha. Greed, anger, and delusion. That's the most commonly used word, and it covers literally anything and everything of all your needs and wants, big and small. So lobha is what? It's basically needing, wanting, or attachment to sense objects. That's lobha. Dhamma and lobha are the same. Dhamma. They are the mental factors. You remember they are altogether 52. This Dhamma is one of the mental factors. Also another word, kama. Okay. It's spelled K-A-M-A. Kama, not K-A-M-M-A, which is K-A-R-M-A, karma in Sanskrit, K-A-M-M-A, kama in Pali. This one is totally different. K-A-M-A, kama. it is a sense desire for senses. So it has the same meaning as Dhamma and Lobha, Kama. And another one is called Raga, R-A-G-A. Raga is stains of minds. So all these four words, they are more or less the same. They are used differently. Lobha is used as in general under mental defilements with a big brush stroke. Okay. Kama is used when you want to emphasize on the sense object. And raga is used when you want to emphasize on the purity or the dirtiness of the mind. Purity or impurity of the mind. And Dhamma is used specifically more as a mental object, okay, where it arises or it is conditioned by feeling, vedana, very specific. And also when you see Dhamma, it covers the most subtler part of the desires and what. So subtle, sometimes we don't even know that we have attachment, that we have likings or wanting. So based on the emphasis where it is used in context with the scripture, these words are used. Today we are going to use the word Dhamma, English, craving. Raga, okay, the last one is, raga is what? Again, it's a stain of mind. Stain of mind. And I already said, when you want to emphasize on the purity or impure, this is used. Because there's the opposite word of raga is called viraga. Vi means without, not, none, no. Viraga. Basically, disappearance of the stains of mind. Disappearance of the stains of mind. The mind, there's no more stain, that means totally pure. That disappearance of the perfect disappearance, total disappearance of the stain of mind, that can be achieved only at the highest level of enlightenment, arahata, okay, the fourth noble person, raga, viraga. So these are a few words that one need to know when we are discussing about Dhamma, craving. So how many kind of objects do we have? If you remember, there are 6 kinds of objects. So based on that 6 kinds of objects, there are 6 kinds of cravings, Dhamma. Craving for form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and Dhamma object. So those are the 6 objects. So we have 6 kinds of craving. So in here, Dhamma objects, we call it the mental objects. In this case, there's another word called Dhamma objects. When you crave for the Dhamma object, we call it Dhamma craving. Dhamma craving is the thirst for Dhamma objects. If you remember the last talk, we'll make a quick rundown. What are the Dhamma objects? 5 sensitivities, 16 subtle materiality, 89 types of consciousness, 52 types of mental factors, cetasika, nibbana, nirvana, and conceptual objects. Those are Dhamma objects. If you are attached to any one of these things, then it is called Dhamma craving, Dhamma tanha. Let's see then, in a more on a operation level, when a pleasant objects, okay, any kind of pleasant object strike the sensitivity, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind-based sensitivity. Okay. When the pleasant object strike the sensitivity, automatically at that moment there's attention. Pleasant object, sensitivity, attention. What is attention? Attention is consciousness. Consciousness is attention. You can generally understand like that. Of course, consciousness is different from attention. Attention is different from consciousness. But consciousness is vijnana. Attention is mental factor, cetasika. Mental factors cannot arise without consciousness. Consciousness cannot arise without mental factors. Specifically 7 of them, and one of them is attention, manasikara. So that's why one can invariably understand. When you say attention, you can substitute consciousness and try and understand that. When you say consciousness, you can understand that means attention. These are the little things, but if you understand it specifically, it makes your rounded understanding clearer and more complete. So, when the pleasant object strikes the sensitivity where there is attention, what happened? These 3 come together. Mental contact, phassa, arises. But mental contact, when there's a mental contact, what is it there? There's a feeling, vedana, phassa, picaya, vedana. So you can say mental contact and feeling arise when those 3 things come together. But not craving, only that. Object, sensitivity, corresponding consciousness, mental contact, and feeling. And that's it, stopped. At that moment, there's no craving. Craving does not and cannot arise at that moment. There's no craving at that moment. Because if you understand it, all these things, okay, mental contact and feeling and consciousness and objects and sensitivity, what are they? They are resultants. They are the result of the past life action. or you can call it the other resultant consciousness of past life actions. So as they are resultant, they do not produce karma. As they don't produce karma, we call it they are in the passive zone or passive part of life. So that's a group by itself. They are in the passive zone. So in the passive zone, Dhamma cannot and will not arise. Because Dhamma is in the active zone. The active zone is where all the actions take place. Jhana, or impulsion, or swift consciousness, actually where the actions are taking place. That's the active zone. And Dhamma belongs to the active zone or active part of life. This is not the result of the past life action. It is the mental factor that arises out of the decision making, determining consciousness, Kriya Citta. So keep that in mind. When up to Vedana, everything arises, nobody can stop, no powerful being can stop up to Vedana. But Dhamma is in the active side of life. It does not arise along with the other group. So, Dhamma arises along with jhana, swift consciousness. So, attachment arises. Attachment arises only when there is craving. Without craving, there is no attachment. If there is attachment, there is craving. So that also is a very important point. Without attachment, there is no craving. If there is no craving, there is no attachment. So this is the showing you the relationship between the active side of life and passive side of life. In this particular case, feeling Vedana, which is on the passive, and Dhamma, craving, it's on the active side. They are linked, but they belong to the two different sides of life. So now we know we have three basic kinds of craving. Craving for form, craving for sound, smell, taste, touch, and mental objects. 6 kinds of craving. But this 6 kinds of craving can be found under 3 groups of craving. 3 groups of craving. I'll name them in Pali first because it needs further explanation. And this 3 group is, one is called Kama Dhamma, K-A-M-A, Kama Dhamma. The next one is Bhava Dhamma, B-H-A-V-A, Bhava Dhamma. And the third one is Vibhava Dhamma, V-I-B-H-A-V-A, Vibhava Dhamma. 3 groups, and under each group, those basic 6 kinds are there. So, 3 multiplied by 6, there are 18 kinds of Dhamma now, 18 kinds of craving. 3 groups, 6 under each, 18 kind of craving. And these 3 groups of 3 types of Dhamma are interpreted differently or translated differently by various authors. But in our talk, we are going to follow or adhere to the interpretation of the most ancient elders. Okay? Our Buddhism, the specific Buddhism we are following is called Theravada Buddhism. Thera is the elders. The elders, which mean the senior disciples, starting at the senior disciples of the Buddhas when Buddha was alive. Buddha doesn't give a long discourse with all the explanations and details. He gives a talk, but he has the senior disciples who he considers are able to understand what he said. And those senior disciples, those elders, interpret, explain what Buddhists meant with this word or that word. That's why the Buddhism we follow is called Theravada. Okay. The view of the elders. So in here, we follow the most ancient elders' translation or interpretation. That's the part we are going to follow in this talk. But there are current authors, more recent authors, let's say within 100 years' time, I don't know exactly, but more recent authors, they interpret it differently, they translate it differently, but we are not going to go into it. So how did the most ancient elders interpret this Kamatana, K-A-M-A, Kamatana? It's the thirst for desirable objects. Thirst for desirable objects. Any beautiful and pleasant objects. Any beautiful and pleasant objects are desirable objects to most people. Of course, there could be an exception. Sociopath may have a different, but 99.99% of the people will have the similar view of the desirable objects. So, almost anything in the world can become the object of craving, the object of Dhamma. Almost everything in the world. It will can be object of craving, or object for thirst, or object for attachment. Use any words you like. Craving, thirst, attachment. That is Kamatana. Simple and straightforward. Now, Bhavadana. I will state the actual line first, what it means. It's the craving arising with eternity view. Craving rising with eternity view. It doesn't say this object or that object. Okay. It can be any object, but as long as you view that object with the eternity belief, then it becomes the Bhavadana. Okay, just to make an example of it, because we are always thinking about person. Let's say diamond, an object. Diamond is a physical object, materiality. Okay. Diamond, of course, everybody loves it. Everybody desires it. Okay. And as the way that everybody desire a diamond. That is kamatana, desire for that object, the diamond, kamatana. But you desire it, and also you believe that diamond is the toughest material in the world, indestructible, very hard, lasts forever. That's why we even say the word diamonds are forever. And when that desire for diamond is attached with the belief diamonds are forever, at that point it becomes bhavatana. Not kamatana anymore, bhavatana, because you desire it with the eternity view on that object. But you are desiring on a physical object, but still it is called bhavatana. Because bhava, the word bhava, is life. Translated can be life. So bhavatana is craving for life, thirst for life. And if you are simply, you crave for your life, you thirst for your life, you crave for your existence, you thirst for your existence, that's kamatana. Oh, I love my life. That's kamatana. My life is good. Kamatana. My life can be better. I can have a better life. Kamatana. But when you associated that existence or life with eternity view, this existence is forever. It doesn't stop here, it goes on. It doesn't start here, it has been there forever in the past. Eternity view. When you look at with that eternity view to your existence, to your life, then it becomes bhavatana, according to the interpretation of the ancient elders. So simply craving for your good life is kamatana, but that same desire with eternity view, it becomes bhavatana. So I think that will give enough. Whether it is the animate object or inanimate object, when you pair with the view of eternity or eternal, it becomes bhavatana. And the third one is vibhavatana. We already know what vibhavatana is. It means non-life, no life, disappearance of life, or destructions of life, annihilation of life. That's vibhavatana. Simple word. We exist. Once we die, that's it. Nothing's left. No more. No traces left. So vibhavatana is craving associated with the belief that beings, we are annihilated at death. After that, there's no more rebirth. That belief is vibhavatana. So, but keep in mind, it is not only to life, but also to anything. If you attach yourself to any object with this is it, this is gone, nothing's left, no traces left, then it is Vipassana. Let's say there's electricity, it come and gone. No, the electricity turns into lights, and then lights turn into something else. It is one after the other, cause and effect. It keeps on flowing through causal relationship. They are different manifestations, but they keep on going in the material sense. So, see, we know 6 basic types of craving, and there are 3 groups, altogether 18. I'm starting that because I just want to give a little peek or view. You will, or you might find when you're studying, there are 108 types of craving. How do they come to be 108 kind of cravings? We know the first 6, 3 groups, 18s, and these 18s can be found in you. That's called internal, and also in others, people, that called external. So when you take internal and external, that 18 become 36. These 36 kind of craving can be found in the past, can be found right now at the present moment, and also can be found in future. 36 multiplied by 3 is 108. That is how 108 arises. I simply know about 108 because my teacher explained it to me. I am not a scholar. I don't know much about scriptures, but I know what my teachers taught me and a little bit of practice that I have together with it to understand the lectures. So here, the na. It's right now you are doing what you are doing based on a decision that once made. And that action is associated with that craving, attachment, or thirst. And as long as that keeps on going, in the future, you will keep on doing the same dhamma. And in the past you have done it. That's why 3 times zone, 108. So, let's look into something else, which can be a little bit of a controversial on the surface. All of us, we crave for pleasant objects. No if or but. And definitely we don't crave for unpleasant object. Crave what? Dhamma. So, dhamma for pleasant object. In other words, no dhamma for unpleasant objects. Simply it comes down to that. But in this dependent origination discourse, the Buddha stated this link that we are dealing with, vedana vicchaya dhamma. Okay? Feeling is a conditioning factor, and craving is the conditioned factor that arises out of it. Buddha didn't say only pleasant feeling condition the craving. Just simply say feeling. But in our life we crave for pleasant things and we don't crave for unpleasant things. So How can we understand that? Why is that sort of a difference in here? So let's go something that we can all relate to. I believe all of you who are listening are meditators, yogis. You are in meditation and you meditate one time or the other. Sooner or later, you will be experiencing the meditative pain. The pain arises. The pain is an unpleasant object. The pain arises, and as soon as the pain arises, if your meditation is not too strong, you have aversion towards the pain. Aversion arises because of the pain. You want to get rid of the pain. You want to, maybe you move your body a little bit to release the pain. Or you are just simply hoping and waiting for that bell to ring, that the sitting meditation is over, so that you can get up and walk, waiting for that bell to strike. What is that? You have aversion towards the pain. You don't like the pain. You're waiting for that bell. That means that bell will eliminate the pain and bring in the pleasant feeling. Bring in the pleasant feeling. Your expectation for that pleasant feeling, waiting for the bell to strike. So, pleasant feeling, the craving for pleasant feeling. If you don't have the craving for pleasant feeling, you won't be waiting for the bell to strike. You won't have aversion towards the unpleasant feeling. But that craving for the pleasant feeling wants that aversion to disappear, wants that pain to disappear. So you can definitely say this pain, unpleasant feeling is the condition for craving. Craving for the pleasant feeling. But this whole strain or this little cause and effect, line of cause and effect will not arise if there is no unpleasant feeling. That's why Buddha didn't say only pleasant feeling will give rise to craving. Simply feeling, which means it covers pleasant feeling, it covers unpleasant feeling. And I've just explained it, how unpleasant feeling is connected to craving, tanha. And then neutral feeling. Neutral feeling is when you are feeling, so to speak, nothing, or neutral feeling. You are not in a state of aversion. You are not in a state of aversion towards a neutral feeling. You are not feeling unpleasant. You are not suffering from neutral feeling. And in some cases, some people, these kind of little neutral, quiet, peaceful, nothing's happening. They even like it. They like to even extend it longer time, these kind of no suffering period, but at the same time no pleasantness. That's why neutral feeling can be put under the pleasant feeling. Even though it is neutral, sometimes you like the little peace and quiet to go longer. You have attachment for it. That's why attachment, thirst, craving can arise from pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. That's why the Buddha said, Vedana Piccayatana. Feeling is the conditioning factor. Craving is the condition factor. So this is a deeper way to understand what the Buddha said, because some yogis bring up this point: how can the unpleasant feeling give rise to craving? So there is the answer. And of course you remember 3 rounds Buddha. Okay, 3 rounds Buddha. These 3 rounds Buddha, they go round and round and round and round, never stop. Okay. As it never stops, it seems like you can never get out of those rounds or those cycles. In other words, you can never get out of the cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. 3 rounds are representation of birth and death. But Buddha showed us how to break that cycle, how to break those rounds, how to stop that constant, unceasingly birth and death samsara. So let's look at the 3 rounds. One of the rounds is called Vipaka Buddha, rounds of resultant. Okay? And more detail, what are the rounds of resultant? Relinking consciousness, mind and matter, nama and rupa, 6 sense bases, mental contact, and feeling. Those are the 5 under the rounds of resultant. They are automatically the product of the past life action, sankhara. And these, once they arise, it doesn't stop. All these 5 just come on. That's why it said they all arises together and they condition each other. They have a supportive conditioning process, and so on and so on. That's the rounds of resultant. And once it's started, nobody can stop. You have to complete that cycle. But even though we can't stop it, the Buddha looked at it, and Buddha is teaching us the 12 links, how this rebirth are constantly taking place. The 12 links, and which is called dependent origination. Dependent origination, under the discourse, Buddha explained to us the 12 links, how this cycle of birth and death is going on. In other words, it's the process of birth and death. Dependent origination is. And it seems like unbreakable, unstoppable. But Buddha found out one link where we can break loose from that cycle. We can break that change. And that link, that change, the weak point of the change is what we are talking right now, this link. Vedana Piccayatana. Feeling is the condition, craving is the conditioning factor. No, condition factor. This is the link. So this link can be broken. Feeling, neutral feeling, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, 3 types. Okay. And this, like everyone else, most of the people in the world, we just live a life. Okay, feeling comes in, we go into the feeling. In other words, we say, you touch the feeling, feel the feeling, live with the feeling, 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 feeling. If we live that way, let's call it the normal way, the norm of the human race where we are living. In fact, every living beings, automatically from that feeling, craving will arise. But if we are living mindfully, not just superficial mindfulness, actual practice, okay, Satipatthana, Vipassana, actually practicing. If you live mindfully, it becomes different. If you are really mindful of the feeling, pleasant, you know exactly as pleasant, unpleasant exactly as unpleasant, neutral if you can. If you are mindful, focused, attentive on that feeling, you will find that feeling arises and disappear, and nothing beyond it. It doesn't go into craving. If you are mindful, feeling is simply a pleasant feeling is pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling is unpleasant feeling. If you are mindful, craving cannot arise. If you are not mindful, automatically craving arises. That's a link the Buddha showed us. Once that link is broken, what happened? A new karma cannot be formed, because you stop that resultant, and the resultant stop at resultant, nothing. New karma cannot be found. In other words, no active sides of life can come into play. And that is how the cycle of birth and death is terminated or stopped. Mindfulness at the point of feeling. But in here, when we say mindful of the feeling, it doesn't necessarily mean you must be mindful of the pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling only. Buddha taught us there are 4 groups of objects to observe. Okay. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feeling, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of Dhamma. Okay, let's look at it. Mindfulness of the body. What is body? Rupa. And what is rupa? Rupa is the product of the past life. Okay. Resultant. Nama, mind. What is the mind? The mind is the resultant of the past life. Nama and rupa. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of body, and mindfulness of the feeling. What is the feeling? Resultant, product. And Dhamma, object. That's a little complicated, but at the beginning, what are we observing for the Dhamma object? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. What is seeing consciousness? What is smelling consciousness? Resultant consciousness. They are all resultant, they are all passive. So, all of them arises together. So when you are observing, if the body is obvious, observe the body. And if you can see the arising and passing away of the body, you have the arising and passing away of the feeling. The mind, if you can see the arising and passing away of the mind, you are also having the arising and passing away of the feeling, because they are all together. Seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, Pincha Vijnana, if you can observe these resultant consciousness, seeing, hearing, smelling, that means if you can see the arising and passing away, you also are experiencing the arising and passing away of feeling. So all four groups, if you observe, whichever one is obvious, observe it. And if you observe it, you have cut the link between feeling and craving. But some people interpret differently. Oh, mindfulness of the feeling, you have to only observe the feeling, observe the feeling, observe the feeling, observe the sensation, observe the sensation. If you don't observe the sensation, but now you know these arises, these are the resultant. Sahajata, they arises together, disappear together. Whichever obvious you observe, you are dealing with the feeling. Know as such, and then you know why Buddha told us, taught us, full foundation of mindfulness. I hope this will be sufficient enough to understand this link. Vidya, Vedana, Vichya, Tanha. Feeling is the conditioning factor. Tanha, craving, is the conditioned factor. May all of you be able to practice Satipatthana, Vipassana meditation, observe the full foundation of mindfulness, and may you be able to cut this link between feeling and craving and escape the rounds of birth and death as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.